This is the new chapter about which I'll be talking, and it is primarily related with the grinding only. So, the first chapter, I will be doing the recording of the things related with this chapter as well, and I'll be sharing the recorded things with you through the suitable YouTube link. Okay, and if you find any difficulty in getting anything, if you feel that there is any query, just basically, in this grinding related thing, initially I will talk about the basic aspects, like what is the need and how does it help to realize the kind of things which are expected from the grinding. Okay, so let us get started with. This is, you can say, the chapter is grinding. Hmm. This is also known as abrasive finishing process. Abrasive, this the grinding is also known as the abrasive finishing process. Okay, why? Because primarily the very hard and very fine size abrasives means something which can really abrade others. You might have heard like this person is very abrasive because he doesn't care for others boundaries or the feelings. It's just like that. So here the fine and hard things, you consider this as a abrasive. So whenever it comes in contact, even under the little pressure, it removes the material. Say this is the surface, and if this hard particle comes in contact, even with the little pressure, it helps to remove the material. It removes the material, and since the abrasive on its own, which is being used, is of very fine size, that is why a very thin layer is removed. Okay, so say if the surface is having the irregularities like this, and if very thin layer is getting removed like this, then you will be getting very smooth surface. So this is the simple idea, like whatever the irregularities present at the surface, those are removed by these fine hard abrasive particles whenever they are made to pass through the surface, or whenever these abrasives are moved to pass through the surface in very controlled way. Okay, so idea behind this is removing these ups and downs from the surfaces so that these surface irregularities, peaks and valleys can be reduced. So earlier the surface may be having the irregularities of this level. Maybe after removing the thin layer, you may get the surface irregularities of this level. So if you see the extent of ups and downs that we measure in terms of the surface, in using the surface roughness, say simple parameter RA, center line average value. Usually this value is high for normal machined components, which may be say ups and downs average is say 2 micrometer, 3 micrometer. Even for cast component, this may be like say 25 or even 50 micrometers. So this is very large. You may feel the roughness at the surface, but when these ups and downs are removed by the abrasives, you find a little improved these removed surface irregularities and reduced peaks and valleys. Still these are there, means these cannot be eliminated. You cannot have 100% flat straight surface like this. There will always be some kind of the ups and downs at the surface, which we may not be able to measure, but it will always be there. Their magnitude may be reduced, but it cannot be eliminated. So say earlier if it was point say 2 to 3 or 25 to 50, you may get it reduced to say 0.1, or you may get it reduced to say 0.001. So depending upon the capability of the surface roughness measuring systems, you can quantify. You see, if you are not able to quantify, it doesn't mean like those, if your system has the capability to measure the surface roughness up to this level only, and if the surface roughness further below or further lower surfaces roughnesses you want to measure, then your system may not be capable. Like there is a atomic force microscopy. There is one system for measuring the this surface roughness, which measures even in angstrom. No, so depending upon the system that we have or a measuring instrument that we have to measure the surface roughness, we can measure or we may not be able to measure. So for most of the functional applications, we need that different range of the surface roughnesses. For most common, maybe 1 to 2 micrometer roughness is fine for most of the functionalities, but for critical applications you may need it up to the 0.1. For further critical and higher applications, you may need it 0.01 micrometer, right? So these need to be realized because simple manufacturing processes like casting, welding, machining or forming, these will be giving you the higher level of the roughnesses. You can get the desired size, you can get the desired shape, but not the exactly the finish you want in one go through these processes. Also, not very controlled dimensions through these processes. Okay, so if you don't have very close control over the dimensions, if you don't have you have not realized a very good surface finish, then you need a secondary processing, you need further processing. So that comes in form of grinding. So primarily the grinding helps in two ways. This is like realizing the desired surface finish. Okay, and the second, realizing the desired control over the dimensions. Like earlier you had a variation of plus minus 0.1. This may not be good enough for a given application. If you want a control of plus minus 0.001, then certainly you need something else, some other process. So maybe grinding may be able to help to realize this, but simple machining may be able to give you just say 10 plus minus 0.1. So the close control over the dimensions can be realized through the grinding, and the desired surface finish can be realized. And the most common applications you might see, you can also simply you might have experienced, like say see the steel which is very polished, smooth finished. You can use that as a mirror. You can see your face on the surface of the metal because of the very high reflection that will be realized when the surface finish is extremely good. Okay, so now I'll show you one what you call so here if you see the sand casting, the kind of the tolerance, the variation in dimensions that is realized through the casting, it is in this range. Say for different metals it is changing because of the you can say the difference in thermal expansion coefficient. You know, aluminum has got higher thermal expansion coefficient. Similarly, the steel has got somewhat lower. Maybe for cast iron it is almost nil. So, so the kind of control over the dimension with the casting is this much. With the machining processes that can be realized is in this range. It is in mm. Okay, just forget about this left side where it is in inches. So for the machining, say 0.08, 0.08, milling, turning, all these processes you have already studied. So if it is say changing from 0.1 to 1.3 in case of the casting, in case of the machining, it is changing, say, from 0.13 to 0.05 or further lower, okay, 0.03. So the point here is you are able to control the dimensions in much better way using the machining process. Okay, further closer control is possible through the grinding or abrasive based processes, where these are the three: lapping and honing. This is another category of the abrasive processes. We are talking about the grinding. Okay, so in the grinding, kind of close control which is possible is, say, 0.008. So you can have very close control over the dimensions using the grinding process. Why? Because extremely thin layer of the material is removed while you are working using the grinder, and that allows the closer control over the surface finish as well as the dimensions. But if you see, when you are removing extremely thin layer of the material, means the material removal rate will be very less. This process you cannot use to get the desired shape, because it will be removing the material at very low rate. You can get it just to close the control, just to have the close control over the dimensions. You can use it just to get the desired finish. Okay, and the lapping and honing, you must have seen the people use for cleaning or for smoothing the floor. Okay, that is the kind of lapping process where there is a fluid, abrasive, and some grinding wheel kind of, or some abrasive wheel will be continuously rubbing in the slurry. So there is a slurry and there is a abrasive tool that will be running the what you call floor. So just to smoothen and to achieve the good smoothness. But that is one similar example. It is mostly used, lapping is used mostly in case of the metals. Okay, unconventional or non-traditional processes, they offer a higher the tolerance value. Okay, now you see the surface roughness. Okay, if you see the surface roughness, so for the casting it is high. You can see here it is for die casting it is reasonably good, like say 1 to 2 micrometer, but for sand casting it is very high. You can see 12 to 25, even for it is furthermore, it can be even 50 also in some of the cases. In metal forming, again it is high. Hot rolling results in very poor roughness. Why? Because surface oxides, those are formed at the surface, and the surface is extremely soft, leads to the lot of indents and the depressions, ups and downs, etc. But in the cold condition it is reasonably good, not that good, but it is reasonably good, like 1 to 4 micrometer. Okay, but for machining, if you see, it is finer, not that fine, like say 1 to 0.5 to say 4 or 5 micrometer, depending upon the process which is being used. But for the grinding, the surface roughness, you see, it's extremely good. Even further, even lower also can be realized if we control the depth of cut and the surface finish, use proper abrasives of the desired size for grinding purpose, then we can realize further finer surface finishes also. So these are the two things, okay, as far as the which are justifying where the grinding should be used. Okay, close control over the dimensions and achieving the desired surface finish, where the grinding will be suitable. Okay, so the common purpose is what for the grinding is used. As I said, here the abrasive in the grinding is a key factor. So the abrasives, you see, for removing the material, you must have seen so far in machining that the tool must be harder than the workpiece in order to indent and then subsequently in order to remove the material. Okay, so what are the typical characteristics of the abrasive? It must be harder than the, so hardness of the abrasives, if you see, hardness of the abrasive, typical abrasive, say aluminum, right? Yeah, it's maybe 1800 to 2000. HV. Okay, then SiC around 2000 HV, maybe 2200 to 2000 HV. Vickers hardness, this is CBN, cubic boron nitride, maybe 3000 to 3500, okay, HV. Then further 4000 greater than 5000 HV for diamond. You see PC, polycrystalline diamond, PCD, which are used for the machining purpose. So these are the kind of the abrasives which are commonly used for the grinding purpose. Now you see the kind of hardness of the materials which are commonly used for the machining purpose. Common steel has got hardness of say maybe max 150 to say 300 HV. For aluminium alloys, say it is 50 to 150 HV. Okay, so magnesium and so those are other softer materials. The point is your workpiece material is significantly softer as compared to that of the abrasive. So if you see, if the abrasive is very fine and the material is to be removed like this, okay, so very thin layer will be removed irrespective of the material which is therein. But sometimes when this abrasive, say abrasive A and the workpiece B, they are in very close contact with each other. So it is possible that due to the heat generated and due to the coolant applied during the grinding, under the effect of the high temperature and under the environment, in the wet environment of the coolant, it is possible that this abrasive can interact with the workpiece. And if these two start interacting with each other, then you will see abrasive will lose its properties. Abrasive will lose its properties. And if the abrasive loses its properties, then it is gone. Means it will wear out, it will get damaged, it will not be able to perform the desired functions easily. Okay. So the thing is, since the abrasives are extremely hard, so these are very useful for dealing with the hard to cut or hardened metals. So these are the two things. Hard to cut, like hardness is very high. Cast iron, extremely hard and brittle. Okay, like ceramics, which are also hard and brittle. Alumina is also ceramic. An example of the ceramic. And the glass components, like the typical picture tubes, which are machined using the diamond. So the point here is like tungsten carbide or carbide tools. So the materials which are very hard, ceramics, carbides, hardened steels. See, these are hard, and even hardened white cast iron, WC, white cast iron. These are really hard to machine using the conventional tools like high speed steel cutting tool. You cannot use for dealing with all these because that will be significantly softer than what these material properties are. Okay, so what you need a grinder. Grinding helps to get the desired size, shape, finish of these hardened or difficult to cut materials. So not just the finishing and close control over the dimensions is realized with the help of grinding, but also it is used for shaping purposes or for cutting purposes, especially when you find that it is not doable. You cannot cut using the conventional method. So ceramics, carbides, hardened steels, these can be processed a little bit. These can be cut using the grinder grinding wheels. Okay, so hard and brittle materials, ceramics, hardened steels, cast irons, these are the kind of materials which are preferred to be processed by the grinding. Okay, so now other materials like now there may be the purpose of grinding just to give the desired surface finish on the desired control over the dimensions, means controlling the tolerance. So in those cases, irrespective of the material, we can choose the suitable grinding wheel and then apply the grinding to get the desired finish and the control over the dimensions. But the shaping and the cutting is primarily applied in cases where material is extremely hard and difficult to process using the using other routes. Okay, so hard and difficult to cut materials can also be processed using the grinding. Okay, now coming to the typical, most common and typical applications of the grinding is, like, say, it is used for finishing the crankshafts which is used in automobiles. And automobiles also use lots of gears, so finishing of the gears. These are just two extremely common examples of the grinding. Okay, now the grinding also can use, just like, say, you have produced something and it has some irregularities, you have deposited weld bead and it is rough, so you can use the handheld grinder. That's called rough grinding. So handheld grinder can simply be used to remove all that unwanted material very easily without putting the entire workpiece on the machining or for the machining purpose, because sometimes hardened material are not that easy to process through the conventional machining, so they are simply removed through the grinding. So in that way we can call it as a rough or fine grinding. Rough grinding is used just like a handheld grinder is rubbed against the surface of the component, which is to be smoothened, and the fine grinding certainly is performed using the robust, heavy, sturdy machines. Okay, so this is about the typical applications. Okay, and now how it is realized, I have got few diagrams also, I'll show that. But before showing that, let me talk a little bit about this. Like, say, the abrasive finishing or abrasive machining, where abrasives can be held in different forms. Abrasive is the key actually. So now these abrasives like this, these can be fitted or bonded in a form of belt or emery paper like this. Okay, in emery paper you must have seen alumina, Al2O3 or silicon carbide based emery papers, and emery is basically alumina based thing, but these are you can say for simple rubbing and removing the rust and smoothening the surfaces, emery papers are used, where abrasives are bonded on the surface of the paper, right? Similarly, these can also be bonded in form of in the form of, like, say, the papers. These can be rolled and shaped in form of belt. So you have a roller like this, and between these two roller you just put in the emery paper or the belt on which the abrasives have been bonded. So what you do, you take the emery paper and rub against the surface manually. Here the rollers over which the belt fitted with the abrasives or abrasive stones, that is moved. So what we do, we just by hand we press the workpiece over this belt. So these fine abrasives will be rubbing the workpiece. So how these will be rubbing and removing the material? So these are the two. This is the second form. This is the first form, where abrasives are bonded and applied on the paper, and or these are applied in form of the belt. And third, which is most common, is abrasives are bonded in form of the wheel. Okay, so you may get it like this. Okay, so entire wheel is made of the two things. One is the bonding material, okay, bonding material, and the abrasive material, right? Abrasive material. So what we do, the bonding material, it may be rubber, it may be metal, or it may be vitrified bonds. There are the different types of the bonds basically. So the bonding material B and the abrasives both are mixed, okay, and then they are compacted and shaped in form of the wheel. Okay, the wheels also can be of the different shapes. That is a different thing depending upon the shape of the component to be. I'll show you the different shapes of the grinding wheels. So depending upon the shape of the workpiece, we can use the different types of the different shapes of the grinding wheel. So abrasive and the grinding wheel both are mixed, and then they are compacted to give the desired shape. Okay, so when this shape is given, you will notice that abrasives are just spread and distributed everywhere in the wheel. Okay, some of these will be projecting from the surface of the wheel like this. Okay, so since these are not just at the surface but in the inside zone also, the abrasives are present. Okay, so when you see these abrasives, the abrasives fitted in the bonded material. Okay, so obviously during the grinding, some of these abrasives will be damaged and will be removed. Bonding material will also be damaged and that will be removed. Okay, so the abrasives are getting damaged means that they will wear out gradually like this, so their shape will keep on changing. Okay, material is getting wear out gradually like this, so their shape will be changing, and when it wears out completely, the cuttability or grindability of the abrasive particles will be decreasing. Okay, so let me show you the another one. Let's say this is the surface of the grinding wheel, and say these are the grinding abrasives projecting from the surface. Okay, like this there will be number of the abrasives inside the wheel. Some of these are say projected. So during the grinding, these will be when you continue the grinding for a while, these will be wearing out gradually. So eventually what will happen, like you will have a situation where the abrasives are like this, they are not projecting actually from the surface. So their cuttability of the grindability of the grinding wheel will be reduced significantly, because you don't have the teeth to cut the material now. So this you can call it as attrition. Okay, attrition is nothing, it's just a gradual wear. So what is the reason behind the gradual wear? About that probably we'll talk little later, but it is important to see that when the material, the hard abrasives are interacting with the workpiece materials, the abrasives themselves will be wearing out gradually, and they will be losing their dimensions, their shape will be changed, their size will be changed, and eventually you will find that no abrasive is projecting beyond the surface of the wheel. Okay, so their grindability will be reduced. That's one thing only. Okay, so let me say something about how does the cutting happen. Okay, so say this is the surface and this is the grinding wheel. Okay, like this. So you are pressing the wheel on the surface, or moving the workpiece in the upward direction. So there is an in-feed kind of thing which is facilitating the interaction of the abrasive and the workpiece. Okay, so initially it is expected that the abrasive like this will indent the workpiece. Okay, like this. Okay, and then it will be this indent is when it is coming down and moving and interacting with the workpiece, it will be causing, say it is moving in this direction, so it will be causing some kind of the deformation here. So when this deformation exceeds a certain limit, this material gets sheared off. So if you see the kind of the movement which exists. The wheel abrasive is moving in this direction, workpiece is say fixed. So this will be material from this zone will be removed by simply shearing action. Okay, but there is a possibility that the other abrasives which are not that sharp, or the bonding material which is not performing any cutting, that will also be rubbing to the surface of the workpiece. So what is happening, whatever the mechanical energy is being used for the grinding process, a part of that will be converted into the heat. Okay, so basically the first thing is the material is getting removed through the shearing. Okay, and the blunted abrasives as well as the bonding material will also be rubbing the surface of the workpiece, will be causing the friction. So these are the two things: removal of the material from the surface of the workpiece by the fine abrasives in form of very thin chips or thin layer of the material is getting removed by the shearing action, that is one, and the rubbing between the blunted abrasives and the bonding material, rubbing between the workpiece and the blunted abrasives and the bonding material, both will be causing the friction. So the shearing and the friction, these two are responsible for generation of significant amount of heat. Okay, so whenever the grinding is performed at extremely high speed, say this is a wheel rotating at 2000 to 3000 rpm revolution per minute. It is interacting with the workpiece where the abrasives are fitted here and there. Okay, so some of these abrasives are removing the material in form of chips, fine chips, while others are simply rubbing. So this will be causing the significant rise in temperature. It will be causing the heat generation. So heat generation is coming or happening due to the shearing, means because whenever mechanical energy is applied and something is happening, a part of energy will be converted into heat, and then frictional heating. So these are the two main things. So these will be causing the significant rise in rise in temperature is so fast, like say within 10 to 20 microseconds, milliseconds. So here it will be rising like this. Temperature will be going, say maybe 300, 400, depending upon the metal which is being processed, amount of friction and the kind of shearing which is taking place. So with the fresh grinding wheel, frictional things will be less, maybe temperature rise will be less, but if the wheel has been wheel is being used for long, so there will be a lot of frictional heat generation that will be causing the significant rise in temperature. So in order to avoid any kind of thermal damage to the workpiece due to the rise in temperature, we frequently apply coolant, so that the temperature of the wheel as well as the temperature of the workpiece is maintained within the limits. So rise in temperature may not be much, say 100 degree, 150 degree or so at the most. So since the wheel rotates at extremely high speed and the rubbing and shearing is happening, causing the significant rise in temperature, leading to the so this can cause the what you can call thermal damage to the workpiece. This is one thing. Okay, let's say this is the surface, and from this is the zone where from material has been removed. Okay, so when the material is removed by the shearing action, you will always see that the deformation has exceeded the fracture limit, where the ultimate is the stress level, ultimate shear stress level it has crossed. So that's why the shearing has happened. But below that, you see, this region would have been subjected to first elastic deformation, then plastic deformation, and then subsequently removal through the shearing. But there will be a region below that that will be under the elastic deformation only. So this elastically deformed zone, this is known to cause the, you see, the surface layer has been removed, and below that you had the elastic deformed zone, so that will try to shrink because it has been elongated in process of the grinding, and subsequently it will try to shrink. So this efforts to shrink will be leading to the development of the residual compressive stresses, means the surface will tend to shrink. Shrinkage is so this is leading to the because of this elastic presence of elastically deformed layer is contributing towards the development of the residual compressive stresses. Means these compressive stresses are there even when there is no external stresses, external tensile external stresses, there is no external load. Okay, so this is one aspect. The second is a rise in temperature. As I said, in certain metals, when the rise in temperature is too high, say when you are working with the steel, and if your temperature is going beyond say 700 or 800 degrees centigrade, so the steel gets transformed into the austenite, and due to the rapid cooling it forms the hard and brittle, the martensite. So formation of hard and brittle martensite at the surface sometimes promotes the cracking, okay, and formation of the hard and brittle layers. So excessive heating is undesirable of steel. Maybe it is undesirable in most of the cases, but this is a typical example of the steel, where if it is being heated more than say 700 or 730 degrees centigrade, then it leads to the austenitization, subsequently rapid cooling leading to the martensite formation, which is in turn promoting the cracking and embrittlement. Similarly, in case of the quenched and tempered steel, heating causing the over tempering, leading to the softening of surface. So there is always alteration in properties due to this overheating. Now, earlier you had one set of the properties before grinding, and after the grinding you are finding that its properties have got modified. Its hardness has increased or it has got softened. So over tempering is leading to the softening, and this martensitic transformation is leading to the embrittlement. It depends that what is the condition of steel. So if the steel is in quenched and tempered condition, it will be leading to the softening, and if it is in the plain carbon steel in say normalized or annealed condition, then it will be leading to the hardening and embrittlement. So rise in temperature is not good at all in any case, and that's why we need cooling. We need to control the temperature, and that's why very frequently during the grinding we use the coolants. Okay, now I'll show you. Let me show you a few. This is the grinding wheel, and it is being applied manually on the surface of the metal, so it leads to the lot of sparkles. Many times even these sparkles are also used to identify the kind of metal it is. And what you can see here, the abrasives you can see, and these are fitted with the bonding material, and the bonding material and these abrasives are interacting with the workpiece, and a very thin layer of the material will be removed by these abrasives. Certainly all abrasives will not be of the equal size, some will be projected more than others. So the removal is not equal. Few will be leading to the large size removal of the material than others. So, but since the abrasive themselves are very fine size, I'll talk about the size aspect later. But they themselves are very fine size, so very thin layer is removed. That is good part behind the you can say the grinding. That thin layer is removed. That leads to the good surface finish. Okay. this is another example of the abrasive is what you call gear, surface finishing of the gear. So you have to use the wheel of the desired shape, and that is then in feeding is done too. So, and this is like the shafts, they are very common to do this grinding. This is what I was talking actually as far as the approach of the grinding is concerned. These abrasives, these will be interacting. Let's say this is the direction of the grinding wheel rotation, this is the abrasive which is interacting. So when it interacts, you will always find that this is the zone where from material has been removed, and this is the chip which is being removed. So here you see, this is the zone which would have been subjected first the elastic deformation, then plastic deformation, and then finally shearing off. But below that there is a zone which will be under the elastic deformation. So this zone is basically the elastic deformation, and that in turn basically causes the residual compressive stresses. These are good actually for all tensile strength and the fatigue behavior of the material. As far as the heat generation is concerned, I talked about the two things primarily. Rest are the friction, like the shearing, that's the one where a lot of efforts are needed to remove the material from the workpiece by the abrasives, so it consumes a lot of energy, and part of that energy is converted into the heat. Rest are friction, like say the rack friction or the flank friction. So like say this is the abrasive, okay, so this you may term as a flank part of the abrasive or rack part of the abrasive, like this, if the abrasive is moving in this direction. So there may be kind of frictional friction between the rack face and the workpiece, flank face, and the cutting and segregation and the chips. So basically the friction and the shearing are the two main causes behind the rise in temperature, and rise in temperature is extremely fast, you can see like this in terms of the temperature, and it depends again on the kind of the abrasives which are being used. So the CBN is 1, like cubic boron nitride. Because of its good conductivity, it leads to the somewhat lesser rise in temperature as compared to the alumina. Alumina is having lesser lower thermal conductivity. So those are other aspects, and you can see there is a more the depth of cut, although it is in micrometer, it is not in mm. The what you have seen earlier, like say half mm or 1 mm depth of cut. So in grinding it is very thin, like say 20, 30, 40, 60 micrometer, and but still whatever the depth of cut that you give, and when it is increased, there is a rise in temperature, and this rise in temperature can be as high as, although it depends on the workpiece material also and the grinding conditions. But if the rise in temperature is really significant, then this kind of rise in temperature, like say around 800 or 1000, this is harmful actually for the workpieces. Sometimes actually coolants are also not allowed. Okay, so that about that maybe you will see in subsequent sections. Every time coolants are also not allowed to use. So if that is the case, we have to see really that the rise in temperature is not that harmful for the workpiece. Then probably the dry grinding also can be performed. Okay, so that's about the heat generation related thing. In the front view, say that this is the wheel, okay, and this is the workpiece. So wheel is rotating, right, and this is the workpiece. So if you see here, so when the wheel rotates, the surface will be interacting with the workpiece here. Okay, so you have to move either the grinding wheel all along the surface of the workpiece to be smoothened like this. So either move the grinding wheel or move the workpiece. So usually the grinding wheel is kept fixed and workpiece is moved. Okay, so this movement perpendicular to the axis of the rotating grinding wheel is called the longitudinal feed. Longitudinal feed. longitudinal feed. And you see, to cover the entire surface area of the grinding wheel, you need to do the lateral movement. So that lateral movement is given to the grinding wheel. That is called cross feed. Okay, so to cover the entire surface area, cross feed is given, and to cover the given length of the workpiece, workpiece is moved past or through the grinding wheel. Okay, so that is called longitudinal feed. And in order to give the depth of cut, either workpiece is moved up or the wheel is moved down. So this is called in feed. So there are three kind of the feed related words. Feed means somehow we are trying to bring the workpiece or the tool in interaction with each other. Okay, so the longitudinal feed helps to move the workpiece past or through the grinding wheel. The surface area is covered by the grinding wheel through the cross feed, and in feed determines the depth of cut, how close the two are coming. So the DOC, depth of cut, is identified through the in feed. Okay, in different configurations, there can be the different ways to realize the depth of cut as well as the cover that entire surface area, because there is a surface grinding. This is a simple case of the surface grinding. There can be cylindrical grinding, there may be internal surface grindings. There are different possibilities. So this is a case of the surface grinding only. Okay.